something kind of big happened a few years back.
Well, I had a heart attack, and it was a very serious heart attack.
Mhm.
And I literally was out of commission while I was in a coma for 3 to 4 weeks.
Wow.
So I wasn't able to practice law. I wasn't able to do anything. I was in a hospital for well over 100 days. And I had well over 100 cases I was working on. Then it's just, boom, happened. And Matt, he had to take over.
So I'm here today with David and Matt Rosenberg, father and son team at Handler, Hending and Rosenberg, probably Central Pennsylvania's most well-known law firm. 100 plus years in practice.
Our firm's been around 100 plus years, but I haven't been in practice that long. But the law firm's been around a long time. Yes, over 100 years.
And 5 locations?
We're in 5 locations in Central Pennsylvania.
And huge Penn State fans.
We are huge Penn State fans. We're both Penn State graduates.
I believe you met your wife at Penn State?
Well, that is true. I met my wife first week I was there. She was with a group of ladies in front of me, and I went and tapped her on the shoulder and started talking to her.
Nice.
I don't know where I got that nerve from at 18 years of age, but that's how I met her first day in college. We've been married over 45 years.
Wow.
And Matt's sister, my daughter, went to Penn State, and my daughter's husband all went to Penn State.
Did you make Matt go to Penn State, or Matt, did you want to go to Penn State?
I did not want to go to Penn State, actually. I wanted to go anywhere but Penn State. Ended up going to Penn State. I met my wife at Penn State, so it worked out for the best.
It really is a family affair.
And my brother went to Penn State, and his wife went to Penn State. So how about that?
That's incredible.
It wasn't all planned, but that's just the way it worked out.
Let's talk about, being well known. You guys drive anywhere through Central Pennsylvania, and you're going to see billboards, you're going to see TV commercials. What's that like?
It's fun. People come up and say, I know you from somewhere. I know you from somewhere. I say, well, you probably see my face everywhere.
Right.
Of course, my friends are sick of my face because can't get away from it.
I was literally getting ready to ask you that. What do the friends say?
Oh, they make jokes. We deal with that.
Yeah. So, Matt, you tried everything you could not to come work for your dad, right?
That's true. I'll let him address that. I don't know why.
Yeah, I did. First, I totally wanted to be a lawyer when I was a young kid because I wanted to be just like my dad. And then went to college and saw that there's a lot more things that I could try and do, and ended up in the advertising program, and I loved it. And so that's what I wanted to do. I was a graphic designer for a year, and then the law was, I don't want to say calling me, that sounds like cliche, but I guess it still interested me. Mm-hmm. So went to law school, and then after law school got a job. Well, I worked for a judge for a year. Mm-hmm. And then after that got a job in Philadelphia working at a law firm. And my dad would ask me, when are you going to come work for me? And the answer was always never.
I gave up on him at that point, truly.
Yeah. And then after about 5 years, I said, all right, I'm ready to come work for you now.
What was it that changed?
We had a daughter.
Oh, okay.
Our first
They needed babysitters.
Yeah, we needed babysitters. Yeah, we had, our first child was born, and you realize that family is important, and it's great to be close to your family. So we moved back, and I've been there ever since. And it actually worked out really well. Mm-hmm. I think it was good to have experiences that weren't just working with and for my dad, and going out on my own and having my own life experiences that has sort of prepared me to be where we are today.
It's been great. And it's a wonderful thing to work with your son.
It is. But it can be very difficult. I grew up, we have a family business. I worked for my dad for several years before moving out here. So it can be difficult.
It can be. From my perspective, I don't think it was difficult. I don't see it. Now, maybe Matt has something else to say. He might have something different to say in that. From my perspective, it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience, and I really love it.
I think we're on the same page for most things, and we work together pretty well. It was the right choice. Nothing to complain about here.
And your sister, she works at the firm now, is that right?
She does. She works at the firm. She helps with a lot of our in-house graphic design, marketing. It's been great having her at the office because she and I are very similar as well. I'm probably closer in personality with her than I am with him. It's
I'm not
nice.
so sure of that, but maybe.
At least creatively.
Right,
Let's put it like that.
I'll give him that.
Creatively, she thinks like I do. So it's really nice to be able to hand something to her and say, hey, can you put this together? And it gets done, and it gets done well, and I don't have to deal with it.
And Allison not only helps Matt with the graphic things, she's our intake specialist at our office. So she talks to everybody that calls in,
Right.
all the new clients. She's the one that talks to them, and she's doing a great job with that. And then she's also very helpful with Matt, as he said. And seeing them at work too is just fabulous for me.
That's awesome. So how about you? Did you always want to be a lawyer yourself? We talked about Matt, his kind of path. How about
Well,
you?
I can't say I've always wanted to be a lawyer myself. I went to Penn State, and after I was a senior, I didn't really know what to do. I wanted to be a doctor at one point in time, but one reason I wasn't, that was calculus. So that prevented me from being a doctor.
Right.
So I sort of switched to being a lawyer
Right.
and went to law school. And since then, I had a lot of my brothers followed me, Matt's followed me, I have cousins that followed me. So we have a lot of lawyers now, but I was a trailblazer. But I wasn't set out in life when I was in high school that I wanted to be a lawyer. It just sort of happened. But I'm glad I chose that career.
When you did choose the career, did you know personal injury was where you wanted to be?
No, I didn't at all. I wanted to be in an area helping people, like with a Justice Department or something like that. My first job was with the Attorney General's office in Pennsylvania, and it was in the Bureau of Consumer Protection. And for over 10 years, I was the Deputy Attorney General in Pennsylvania. And so I was in helping people in that role, and then I sort of switched into private practice. My brother was actually in personal injury, and he encouraged me to get into that area of the law.
And did you go to Handler Henning at the time, or did you go through a different firm?
No, I went through a couple different firms, through a couple years till I got to where I'm at now. And it was Handler and Weiner back in those years. This is in 1999. I went in as a partner, and there were 3 other partners. And it's just developed over the years into where we're at now. And where we're at now, it's Handler, Henning, and Rosenberg, but it's just the only partner is myself and Matt now.
And are you guys a lot alike, or do you have different personality traits and you kind of complement each other? Or?
Both.
Okay.
Both things you said are true. We're alike in a lot of ways,
Right.
And in some ways we're different. So I think that's a positive. So we can complement each other in some ways, but as far as the way we practice law and the way we're dedicated to our clients and the way we communicate with our clients are pretty similar.
Yeah, I think that's true. A lot of the way that we see the business and the law and running the business is the same, which is what's made it so seamless, I guess.
Mhm.
We certainly have different personality traits, but there's a lot of things that are similar.
We both like to talk to clients. We want the clients to feel comfortable talking to us. We take an interest in them and communicate with them a lot, and we want to make their life better.
You know, one of the best ways that we get business is through referrals from people we've dealt with in the past. No matter how many billboards we put up or television commercials we're on, your best referral source is always going to be past clients. And we work really hard to make sure that people are happy with us and that they had a good experience, and that if we're lucky enough, they'll recommend us to their friends and family and people they care about.
We like to have a positive impact on the community. We do get involved with charitable things. We have people from our office go to Ronald McDonald House, for example. We collect for the food bank in our office, and we're involved in a lot of charitable events. So we do like to give back to the community in that regard.
Feels good to give back, doesn't it?
It does. It feels great.
So, Matt, something kind of big happened a few years back, and you got kind of thrown into some things quicker, right?
I did.
Well, what happened, I had a heart attack, and it was a very serious heart attack. I was coming back from the gym, and I passed out. I happened to be able to call Matt. Matt came and got me and eventually got an ambulance. And I was flown to Philadelphia and had surgery. And I literally was out of commission while I was in a coma, for an induced coma, for 3 to 4 weeks.
Wow.
So I wasn't able to practice law. I wasn't able to do anything. I was in a hospital for well over 100 days. And Matt had to jump in there. I couldn't even communicate with Matt.
Right.
And I had well over 100 cases I was working on, and I was the managing partner.
Mm-hmm.
I was the only partner at this time, and I made Matt a partner only in case something happened to me, not thinking anything was ever going to happen to me, because I did not have any problems prior to this,
Right.
really. And then it's just, boom, happened, and Matt luckily was at a small partnership interest, so he had to take over.
Right.
So that was an event that put everything on Matt's shoulders.
So what was this like for you?
I wasn't really given a choice. It was either take over everything and keep everything running smoothly, or who knows what the other option is. It was a real whirlwind. There was a whole personal aspect, and then there was the whole business aspect. So my dad was in the hospital, and my mom was there, and my sister and I were going back and forth. And at the same time, had to make sure the law firm was running. I remember sitting that next day down with the other attorneys and saying, okay, this case is going to be yours. This case is going to have to be yours. And then talking to the clients, and it went as smoothly as it could have gone. And that's a lot of that is because my dad did tell me how he ran things and did sit down with me and pull me into meetings. It wasn't, hey, come in, I want to teach you a lesson. It was
Right.
just sit in on this and listen to this call or sit in on this meeting, and picked it up and managed not to run the firm into the ground. So that was a plus.
Definitely.
Not yet.
Not yet, there's time. No, but things went as smoothly as they could have, and our other lawyers and staff stepped up remarkably. And it's not something I could have done by myself if no one else helped. And they did, and I think that goes back to his leadership, because they wanted to make sure that when David got back to the office, no one missed a beat.
We have a great staff.
Mhm.
We have a fantastic office manager, and she was very influential in making sure everything went smoothly. We have great paralegals and good people who's been with us a long time. So that's very important for our firm. It's not just Matt and I. We have 10 other attorneys who've been there a long time, very seasoned and very experienced, and they were great stepping up. They did a great job.
And what would you say the biggest challenge was during that time?
It was learning to manage and to manage people,
Mm-hmm.
and to make sure that not only was I able to manage them, but they trusted the decisions I was making, and that I knew what I was doing. That was difficult. But again, I think that goes back to me having had outside experience. My first job wasn't given to me by my dad, like Tommy Boy.
Right.
But that I actually had some experience at a different firm and worked for a judge, and I knew what I was doing. But as far as dealing with the day-to-day things that you don't know about, like payroll,
Mm-hmm.
that's something I had never given a thought to ever.
Deal with.
Right. That takes longer, and dealing with interpersonal issues that come up that you don't realize until you're a manager, that takes longer. So I'm still learning. I'm still learning that stuff. But I have good people around me, and I have my dad. The furthest away he ever is a phone call. So that's helpful. And every day's a journey, but every day's a learning experience, and we just go from there.
They did a fabulous job.
When you were better, did you come back in and take the reins, or did you let him keep them?
A little bit of both. I let Matt keep him pretty much, but with all the physical problems I was having, of course, I couldn't be as involved in the business as I was before, at least not in the actual practice of law.
Right.
And then I was put on a heart transplant list in April of the following year, so that was about 7 months later. And I found out that Cedars Hospital in California does the most transplants anywhere in the country. And of some of the specific problems I was having, they have the foremost expert in that. Coincidental story, I was born in Los Angeles at Cedars-Sinai
Okay.
Hospital.
Yeah.
So I decided to come out to California to have the heart transplant. That was over close to 2 years, well, a year and a half later,
Okay.
after I had the heart attack. So I was out here for about 5 or 6 months until I went back home.
Okay.
Thank goodness the transplant's wonderful. The doctors out here are great in California, especially at Cedars. So I had my original heart from Cedars-Sinai and my second heart from Cedars-Sinai.
That is amazing.
It is an amazing story. It's sort of ironic.
So
What's one word of advice you would give to someone that's kind of, maybe not, in the same scenario as you, but maybe they got really successful really fast, and it's one of those things where they didn't take them 30 years to get there. What would you say?
I think it's to listen to people and make sure you hear their stories. When people come to you with a problem, it's listening to them and really thinking about the problem and why it is a problem and what they want you to do about it. It's that managing of people requires listening to people, and you'll get some really good ideas along the way, and you'll get some really good help about what you could do better to grow as a manager, but what the firm could do better. One person can't think of everything, and they probably won't even think of most things, because on top of that, I have 100 cases I have to deal with.
Right.
Keeps you busy.
Yes, it does. And they don't teach, people skills in law school,
That
to my
they don't.
knowledge.
No, maybe the opposite. Not really sure. Like Matt said, listening is very important. Sometimes people like to hear themselves talk, and it's better to listen.
Mm-hmm. So, what's the thing you admire most about your dad?
This guy knows how to run a law firm. Our firm is where it is today with 5 locations and 12 lawyers because of his ideas. And there are a lot of very good lawyers who have no idea how to run a business. They don't have a bookkeeper, or they don't have whatever it is.
Don't bother answering their phones, right?
Right, something simple like that. But what I've learned from my dad, and what I saw as I was sitting in on these meetings and everything, is that there's a lot of stuff that goes into running a law firm, into the business of law.
Right.
And that's somewhere that my dad has been really successful, and that I hope I can emulate and do it at least just as well.
Absolutely.
If I could do it better, that'd be awesome. But as long as I can do it as well, that'd be great.
Another 100 years, right?
Well, maybe not for me, but for the firm at least. Right.
And what do you admire most about Matt?
Well, I have to admire when Matt just had to step in and pick things up. I mean, that was amazing. He was put in a very difficult situation. There's no question about it. A situation that many people would not have been able to handle. Certainly not been able to handle it as well as Matt did. It was almost an impossible situation. And how can you plan for that? And that everybody looks for their children to surpass them. And maybe he's done that already. But I can see him getting there, certainly. He's just doing a great job at the firm, and the whole firm is doing a great job.
What do you want your legacy to be?
My legacy, I just like people to just respect what I've done for them and say that I did a good job, that I've helped people, and they're happy with my representation.
And you?
Same thing. I just want to say that I've helped people. There's nothing more satisfying than a client who you get a thank you note from. And there's some clients who continue every Christmas send a card and just say thank you for what you did for me 5 years ago. We get a bad rap sometimes as trial lawyers and ambulance chasers and all that stuff, but we don't call people. People call us, and when people call us, it's because they need us. I couldn't tell you how many calls I get from people who say, I was going to do this on my own. I didn't think I needed a lawyer, and the insurance company just won't answer me. Or they're just inundated with bills and they can't work and they're not getting a paycheck, and they don't know what to do.
A lot of times they say, well, I'm not the kind who goes to a lawyer who wants to sue, and it's always when it's affecting somebody, then it's their most important thing to them, and their attitudes and views do change when it's affecting them. And we appreciate that. We want them to be able to move forward, and that's what's important.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming out today. It was a great talk to see how the firm's evolved from when you got into it and we're starting managing it, and the wild ride that you both had over the last few years here, especially for you, kind of got thrown in. It was awesome to hear, and I hope a lot of other people can take a lot from your story.
Well, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks so much.